If you think your average American is more likely to rape you than your average Somalian, then no offense, you're an absolute retard.
Or if you have your mindset, you're just a fucking racist, right? It doesn't make Americans safer. All you're doing is getting rid of abuelitas and your employees and your kids, friend's parent from school. That's what's happening right now. And he's gonna juggle and act like the fucking clown that he is right now. It looks good on you. You're doing a great job. Immigrants built this country. It's never been a homogenous country. If they wanted it to be, they shouldn't have imported black people. They shouldn't have come onto land that was already occupied.
Right now, we have white people being replaced in this country, the founding stock being replaced in this country. We cannot continue to have that. A country is its people, and when you replace the people in a country, you change the entire country as well. Well, I'm James Paskalides. I host the America Unfiltered show. I am extremely pro-ICE, pro-mass deportations. I think that it does make the country safer to remove every single illegal immigrant from this country. We cannot have people who are unvetted in our country. You need to treat a country like a home. And when you allow people to just stumble into your home, abuse your public systems and services, it does not make the country safer for anybody.
I'm Ceci. I'm the host of the Putting You On podcast, where I show people doing their part in this fight in their way. I've also been on Jubilee, Dr. Daff, and the Michael Knowles Bar Fight Show. And you can follow me everywhere at Very Ceci. Do mass deportations make Americans safer? I am on the no side of this, as we've seen the violence rise, and statistically, I'll show you how.
Mass deportations make the country safer because, like I said in my opening statement, you have to treat a country like a home. You can't allow unvetted people to just wander into your home the same way. If someone walked into my condo, I would defend my condo. I would not let anybody just walk into my country. We already have too many people almost as it is in America, too many unvetted people. We have estimated about 40 to 70 million illegal immigrants in this country, and we need to do whatever we can to remove them. And this isn't only my policy. This is the policy of every Democratic lawmaker prior to Donald Trump in 2015. Prior to Donald Trump, we saw Obama, the deporter-in-chief, deport about 5 to 7 million. We saw Bill Clinton deport over 11 million. We heard Hillary Clinton say that you're going to have to come in this country legally, and you're going to have to learn English, and you're going to have to assimilate. This new being against mass deportations, being against enforcing border policies, it's extremely new. It's a new form of wokeism and liberalism that is dying out pretty quickly. People are realizing very fast that the more immigrants you bring into this country, the lower wages are going to be for your regular Americans, the less housing options there will be for your regular Americans, even the higher your rent will be for your average Americans. They always like to say that, oh, an American doesn't want to do that job. That's why we bring in an illegal immigrant. First of all, that's a very similar argument that slave owners used to make. But beyond that, Americans will work those jobs, but they will work them for an American wage for benefits. And that's something that the left continues to ignore. We need to have a country that supports its citizens. And one way to support your citizens is removing the non-citizens, removing the illegal immigrants who violated U.S. Code 8 1325, violating your sovereignty and mine.
Okay, well, one, as far as people not being able to come here, I mean, we have pathways to citizenship for a reason. And I know that you like to probably deny them, but we do have those pathways, like seeking asylum. That is a thing. And a lot of these people they're deporting, they're using that as, oh, they didn't come legally, but they did. We have pathways for them to do so. Though you would disagree with that, that is still on the law in the books that they can be here, that they can use certain ways of different pathways to become citizens here. Also, you said that Obama deported 5.6, he deported 3.1, but also I wonder if your side was championing his deportations. You weren't. Nobody was championing his deportations at that time. And the thing is, though, is we didn't really talk about it because he was doing it by the book through our court system. And if Bill was able to do 11 million, Obama's able to do 3 million through the court system, then we see that it does work. You don't need to put goons with masks, no badges, no IDs that shoot American citizens in the street, on the street, to do these mass deportations. And on top of that, you said that, that Americans, we say that they won't take the same jobs and blah, blah, blah. And the reality is, though, is that doesn't come from the left. I mean, that directly comes from contractors and construction workers and farmers who have, now that their employees have been taken, are complaining about the Americans that they have to hire, because the Americans, the reality is, what you just pointed out, is the fact that we've been exploiting immigrants and paying them not enough and taking away from Americans, right? But that's not the immigrants' fault. You keep trying to use them as a scapegoat for everything.
I didn't blame the immigrants for the wages being lower. I blame the illegal immigrants who illegally came into this country, but I also do blame the corporations who do pay them those lower wages, and I blame the government for not holding them responsible for doing that. We might be able to find some agreement actually on that part of it, but I disagree very heavily with the other things that you said. So first of all, you said Obama was 3.1 million. Not true. It was way higher than that. It was over 5 million. Second of all, you said they did it all the legal way. What is the legal way? You want to say it's through the courts. That's what they have been attempting to do. But because Donald Trump is such a, what's the word? Donald Trump is such a character that people don't want to get along with. No matter what Donald Trump does, he says the sky is blue, the sky is orange. He says grass is green, grass is red that day. Everything Donald Trump says, people want to disagree with. And I'm not even somebody who likes Donald Trump, but what Donald Trump is doing is no different than what any other president did before him to enforce our immigration laws. The kids in cages, guess who started that? Obama, but they tried to pin it on Donald Trump. It's absolutely ridiculous, the framing you use, because you try and frame it in a way like Donald Trump is this tyrannical dictator and that ICE agents who are covering their faces to not be doxxed because liberals like people who travel to Minneapolis to try and expose these people, take pictures of these people, dox these people, break into their hotels, which happened just 3 weeks ago. They literally broke into a Home 2 Suites. They broke into another Hilton and a Marriott looking for ICE agents. They were kicking their cars, destroying their cars, bombing their cars. They were doing everything they can to violently hurt these people. The Krasenstein brothers were publicly doxing names of ICE agents. There's a whole Signal chat that gives a comprehensive guide on how to go about this. So I think they should cover their faces. I think that Donald Trump is going about this, honestly, Donald Trump's being a pussy about this, in my opinion. I think Donald Trump needs to go twice as hard. I think we need to do what we can.
You think that 9 American citizens dying last year from ICE wasn't enough for you? That's what this is? Like, oh, he's not going hard enough. We've had American citizens killed in the street now. Mass deportations have not made Americans safer. They've put Americans in harm's way. You do realize that, right? Renee Nicole Good, Alex Preddy, Keith Porter.
Nicole Good put herself in that scenario by sitting in the middle of the street instead of being at work or home with her kid or her wife. She put herself in that scenario sitting in the middle of the street. Alex Preddy had been he'd been questioned by law enforcement. He'd been apprehended by law enforcement multiple times just a week before. He was kicking the taillight out of an ICE vehicle, pushed to the ground by those ICE agents. He was also carrying his weapon on every single occasion that he interacted with ICE agents. His parents even came out and said he hadn't been going to work. He hadn't been contacting the people he usually contacts, that he is having a mental episode, and they told him not to get into confrontations with ICE agents. And what did he do? He got into a confrontation with an ICE agent while holding a SIG PX320, which is known to misfire. The gun misfired. There was a miscommunication, and he was killed right there on the spot. First, you could possibly blame SIG. Second, you can definitely blame him. You have to be retarded to carry a SIG PX320. You have to be really retarded to carry a SIG PX320 while engaging with law enforcement in a violent manner.
Okay, so first off, carry and conceal is legal. I love that right now all these MAGA supporters that go to Walmart to buy milk with their gun are complaining that he was out with his gun. This is legal. He can do that. He never pulled his gun. And in fact,
it's about the fact that he is violently going at law enforcement. He is kicking their vehicle, screaming at them, saying, "Shoot me, motherfucker," while carrying a firearm that is known to misfire. I have no problem with anyone concealed carrying. I'm doing it right now. But if I am going to conceal carry, I promise you, I'm not going to go and try and target a law enforcement.
He was not targeting anyone. In fact, he was stepping in to defend and protect a woman who you saw that ICE agent violently pushed when she was standing there. I mean, he threw her. I mean, she flew. And Alex Preddy, put his body on top of hers. He was there to protect his fellow neighbor. He wasn't there to incite shit. He was.
Or when he was kicking the back of an ICE agent's car and kicked the taillight out, and they had to push him to the ground, and he was saying, "Shoot me in the head, motherfucker." Who was he protecting then? Just curious.
That video, honestly, that video was very confusing to me because I don't understand how they would have the reaction they had the first time of, "Oh, we're just going to let him go." And then all of a sudden, the second time, we're going to shoot him. So I don't know if it was a
his gun misfired the second time. You completely missed my point about he carried a SIG PX 320, which is known to misfire. Again, these things are going right over your head.
So he bought the wrong gun to carry and conceal. But again, do mass deportations make Americans safer? It doesn't. It hasn't proven that. In fact, long-term trend of migration here, of immigration, proves that in 1980, the immigration population was about 6.2%. Okay. Since that 1980 to 2022, it's grown to 14%, but total crime has dropped 60%. This is the long-term trend we've seen from immigration. If it was all criminals and they were all bad people, we would see the opposite happening in a long-term trend.
Well, they are all criminals. They all violated U.S. Code 81325. Second, the statistic you're quoting talks about violent crimes. What does violent crimes include and not include? Well, some things it doesn't include is burglary, fraud, DUI.
Actually, the statistic I'm stating is total crimes. I made sure that it wasn't just violent crime because I thought it was just violent crime, but it's actually total crime, which I'm not going to lie, even I'm surprised by that, but that is what it is.
First of all, not true. That is violent crime. I've looked at that exact same statistic. Second of all, they have all violated U.S. Code 81325. Every single one of them is a criminal. They have violated federal law by breaking into this country. Even
do you feel that way? And this is a question and I'll let you run with it. But do you feel that way about the people that came here legally and went through certain pathways to citizenship? Or is this just people that jumped the fence and now they're hanging out and they're hiding? Like what? Because I feel like, I don't know if you're talking about, because you sit there and say they're all criminals because they're all just here existing.
Specifically said they all violated U.S. Code 81325. What that is the unlawful entry into the United States by any means. So I am specifically talking about the illegal immigrants, but I am anti-legal immigration as well, at least temporary. We need to put at a minimum a 25 to 50-year ban on legal immigration. Right now, we have white people being replaced in this country, the founding stock being replaced in this country. We cannot continue to have that. A country is its people, and when you replace the people in a country, you change the entire country as well.
Yeah, but America was never, I mean, I don't know what that means. Like America is the people that make it up. And that would include the immigrants that are here, that have made homes here, that pay taxes here, that have contributed to society here. We are a nation of immigrants. That is what America
immigrants. We were always a nation of settlers, and then immigrants did come in and help build some of the greatest cities. Like if you look at the mainly European immigrants like Irish, Italian, etc., who came in and built New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, came in and built all the greatest pieces of transportation that we have throughout this country. But to say that the modern day immigrants are contributing in the same manner, or the overwhelming amount of them are contributing in that same manner, is ridiculous. They came into a country that was already built, that already had its transportation system, that already had its public health system, that already had all of its infrastructure. And what these people are doing now is abusing our public services, being in our public schools, being in our emergency rooms, being on Medicaid,
So it's, do mass deportations make Americans safer? Americans safer? No, it doesn't. You're bringing up jobs. You're bringing up the
about does it make it safer, we could talk about that. Again, I was addressing your question, but if you want to see if it makes safer, again, go ask Lake and Riley's parents. Go ask Jocelyn Nungry's parents if illegal immigrants make America safer or if mass deportations would make America safer.
Well, I love that everyone always goes to Lake and Riley, and it's like, you do realize that Lake and Riley, for every American-born citizens are 2 times more likely to commit a violent crime. As a woman, I am 2 times more likely to be raped by an American-born man than I am an immigrant. For every Lake and Riley, there are 2 women that were hurt by an American man. Should we deport rapists then? I would be.
No, per capita, that's not true. Again, if you think your average American is more likely to rape you than your average Somalian, then no offense, you're an absolute retard.
Or if you have your mindset, you're just a fucking racist, right? I mean, you sat there and said, oh, these immigrants who came here and did help do great things, Irish and Italians, you go people. Because that's the thing too. We're not just deporting immigrants, like they're deporting brown immigrants. That's the difference here. This is blanketed in white supremacy. Are you a Christian nationalist? Are you a nationalist? Like, what are, because that's the vibe.
Deterring from the actual topic, and then you're like, let's get back on topic. But yes, I am a Christian nationalist. I am an American nationalist. No, I'm not a white supremacist, but I do think we need a white majority country. And I think it's ridiculous to say that we should that ICE is just deporting people for being brown. No, they're deporting people who broke U.S. Code 81325.
Then when they're picking up people, half the time they don't know their name. They're just ripping people out of their homes, ripping people out of their cars, becoming extremely violent right away. They don't know who they're picking up. I guarantee if you ask that ICE agent, well, what's his name? They're not going to know. They just heard, one guy even said to another, you have an accent. That was just enough for him. What are we talking about? This may be, in your mind, for you, James, because I don't know you, maybe for you, you're like, yeah, I want Americans to be safer. Yeah, I want the border to be secure. Maybe you have the right mindset, but the way they're going about it is what's dangerous, right? Listen, I'm not a person who's like, open borders, everyone come on in. I understand we need a secure border. I understand that we do need regulations and pathways to citizenship 100%. But the reality is, okay, you don't, that's fine. But the reality is America was built by immigrants. If we had not had this mass immigration, this country wouldn't be as far as it is. And you want it to be a whiter country. Do you mean that by you want more white Americans having babies, or you want to let immigrants from white countries come here?
The only immigrants we should allow into this country are extremely high IQ, capable individuals, but I don't even think we should be bringing in those immigrants currently right now. And it's not even specifically on demographics like race. Like I said, it's mainly about IQ and ability. But in general, that most likely would be the Asian persuasion or the white persuasion of people. Most likely, just looking at the actual statistics. But the reason I don't want more Asian immigrants in the country is because China specifically is where we get the immigrants from Asia, is they have a law that makes every Chinese immigrant technically a spy for China if the Chinese government wants them to be. I don't think we should be bringing in any immigrants into this country right now, and definitely not any illegal immigrants. And people like to say, oh, I'm not like this open border person, but you want to create a policy that allows...
I just want to ask you one thing though. Do you, like, you're not here for immigration right now. Do you think that it has been good for the country though, in general? Like, do you think that immigration has been good for the country in the past?
Late 1800s and early 1900s, yes, when we didn't have all our transportation system set up, when we didn't have all our public service system set up, it did benefit the country. How is it benefiting the country right now when we're $38 trillion in debt, affordability crisis, people can't afford rent, homes, wages are too low, and one of the reasons for that is there's too much supply in the job market. There are too many people trying to buy houses and too many people trying to rent houses.
Well, excuse me. Shit. I'm sorry. I was sick. You know this. What was I going to say? I lost your point there for a second, James. I totally spaced out on you. But let's do, okay, Americans safer, do deportations make it safer. The reality is, like you just said, like you thought, oh yeah, they did something for us then. So immigration was okay then. It's not okay now for you. But the reality is, immigrants built this country. It's never been a homogenous country. If they wanted it to be, they shouldn't have imported Black people. They shouldn't have come onto land that was already occupied. They shouldn't have colonized. If you want it to be a white nation, stay where you were. And the reality is, though, also, do deportation make Americans safer? We've seen that it hasn't. 24 people died in ICE custody over the last 2 years. That is a 20-year high. So obviously, the way that we're conducting business now is much more dangerous than it was then, because we weren't talking about this during Biden, Obama, Bush, Clinton. Like, we weren't talking about this, but that's because we weren't allowing men just to sign up, get 47 days of training, wear a mask, have a gun, and be able to do whatever you want. I mean, the reality is, for ICE to operate right now, they have to basically trample over the Constitution.
I have multiple people that I'm friends with and close with who have done ICE training and are in ICE, and it's not 47 days. It is 6 months at a minimum. So that's a lie. Second of all, you brushed over every point I said completely. So I would like you to actually address some of those.
Okay, that's fine. Which point do you want me? Oh, you have 2 seconds. Well, I mean, the point is, do mass deportation make Americans safer? And the reality is, no, it doesn't. Because, like I said, over the long term, well, I mean, I'm just letting you know, over the long, I mean, dude, we had 9 people killed last month by ICE agents. How is that making, and they were Americans. How is that making Americans safer? How is it safer to have these goons on the street with guns that are just ripping people out of their cars?
That's
I didn't get that. But the reality is, right now, we are just letting, and also, who are the ICE agents? The fact that they want to hide their identity. They are KKK members. They are Proud Boys. Enrique Tarrio is on the payroll as an ICE agent. We've allowed bullies to mask up and hit the streets. That's all that's happened. This does not make Americans safer. You think you're getting rid of criminals off the street, but the reality is, the people that they've deported so far, only 28% of those people have a criminal record. Only 14% have a violent criminal record. That's the reality here. It doesn't make Americans safer. All you're doing is getting rid of abuelitas and your employees and your kids, friend's parent from school. That's what's happening right now. And he's going to juggle and act like the fucking clown that he is right now. It looks good on you. You're doing a great job. But do mass deportations make Americans safer? It doesn't. We're not removing criminals. Only 28% have criminal records. It doesn't.
Well, I think Ceci already conceded on this one in the previous debate. She said that violence will happen, apparently. So if violence is going to happen, I pretty much just win this side of it. I do think there are going to be outrageous liberals. I do think the media is going to stir up drama and cause chaos to happen. I do think they're going to try and push people to revolt. That's what we've seen. We've seen Don Lemon doing it. We've seen it on MSNBC. We've seen it on CNN. We've seen it on all the liberal media outlets. We've seen it with the Krasenstein brothers, the pedophile twin brothers. We've seen it on all these major outlets. So I do think Ceci has kind of already conceded that violence will happen. And violence will happen because these people will go out and try and fight for a Somalian who wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire. If Ceci was burning in flames right now, a Somalian immigrant, legal or illegal, wouldn't piss on her to save her life. They would stand by and watch and laugh.
That's so funny, because when you were describing that scene, I'm actually picturing a bunch of white frat men around watching me get burned alive. That's funny. That's exactly where my mind goes. But actually, I'm not going to lie to you, James. Right from the beginning of this one, before when we were given the prompts, I didn't know which one to take on this, because I'm kind of yes and kind of no. Like I might secede this to you right from the start, because the reality is, one, there's different types of violence, right? Yeah, you slam dunk. There's different types of violence. Like if we're talking about like pushing and shoving, that might be inevitable when you're dragging someone to a court hearing or something, right? Now, Americans being assassinated in the street, I don't think that's inevitable. I mean, under Trump, we've seen that it is, but I don't know if that level of violence is inevitable. So that's why this was hard for me, because the word inevitable is what I was like, I mean, pushing and shoving is violent, but it's not the level of shooting an American citizen in the street.
people who stand on the side of the street yelling at ICE agents, pushing ICE agents, trying to block in their vehicles, you don't think they should be violently apprehended? You don't think they should be taken down to the ground or arrested?
I think that if I was in my car and a masked man with no badge and a gun tried to pull me out of my car, I would fight you. Yes, I would absolutely fight you because I don't know who you are. And we
shot right in the fucking head like Nicole Good did. You're like Renee Nicole Good. You'd get shot right in the fucking head. If you sat there and you tried to fight a law enforcement agent, yes, you would get shot.
The reality is, though, we don't know if they're law enforcement because we've had 5 men around the country be arrested for raping women pretending to be ICE. That's the other thing they've now done, not making Americans safer. And is violence inevitable with mass deportation system? I know that's the thing. But we've given...
They don't have any credentials. Just because they're wearing a mask on their face to protect their identity because there are liberals in a signal chat in Minneapolis who are trying to dox them does not...
What other credentials are they showing? I could buy their outfit, their costume, because they're cosplaying. I could buy that costume, and if I was a dude, pretend to be an ICE agent. Men have already been arrested for this. They've assaulted women, robbed people. We have made the lanes wide open for people to pretend to be ICE. So that's why they should have some sort of badge, identification, know the law, not
badges. Again, you're just missing the bigger picture and bigger point. They do hold badges. They do hold credentials with them. Just because they don't show them immediately to everybody on every single camera doesn't mean that they don't actually have them and don't present them to the people they are around.
So if a masked man with that getup came up to you because let's say you were filming, right? And he didn't know that you were on his side and he's getting hostile with you and stuff. Like, I don't understand why you think people are just supposed to bend over. And you said revolt earlier, like revolting is a bad thing. That's how America was started because we revolted against the English.
Yeah, our founders would revolt against us for allowing the amount of immigrants we have into this country. Are you kidding? That's a terrible argument. That's an absolutely retarded argument. We don't need these.
Our founding fathers imported fucking immigrants. Our founding fathers imported people. What are you talking about? They would be
imported slaves, actually, which is very different. And the slaves were sold to them by black people in the first place. Who sold the black people? The blacks that caught them in Africa.
But non-Americans or non-white people were the ones who built this country. So you're sitting here saying they'd be rolling over that more people of color are still building the country. What?
I never said people of color. The founding stock of this country is white people, black people, and some Hispanic Mexican. But it is not Somalian. It is not Ugandan. It is not every shithole third world country. It is not the Middle East. It is not half of Africa. It is not the majority of these places. So again, ridiculous argument.
Dude. But anyway, okay, is violence inevitable with the deportation system? I mean, like I said before, I was already prepared to secede this one because I was like, honestly, that's a tough one for me because under Obama and Clinton and even Bush and other presidents that had done a lot of deportations, we weren't hearing about this level of violence. We weren't hearing about any of this. So that's
exactly because the media stirs up bullshit because it's all a facade. It's all fake. Fugazi. It's all bullshit because the media is stirring this up to be a bigger.
Or maybe it's not inevitable. Maybe shooting American citizens in the street is not, well, under Trump, it's inevitable. But before that, it wasn't.
Get shot by law enforcement than any other race. If I was a true white supremacist, I would be taking your side. But you want to just pin me as one. It's absolutely ridiculous. It is not, or it is completely.
You literally used the exact same phrasing as our racist president, shithole countries. And then when you brought up good immigrants that helped us, you brought up the Irish and the Italian. Dude, it's fine. That's your belief.
Somalia is a shithole. There's no age of consent. There's rape everywhere. There's child molestation everywhere. Half of it's piracy. The entire country is an absolute shithole. Do you ever?
You know where else all that happens? Here in America, our president is a pedophile. The Epstein files are real. There's a whole group of white billionaires that were taking part in abusing children.
Epstein files, but don't say white billionaires, Jewish billionaires, and Jewish people are not white. Very big difference. Massive difference. You want to try and frame it that less whack.
Dude, all I'm saying is you want to sit here and be like, oh, Somalia, that's where child rape happens. It happens here too. Stop using one country or one color of people to say like
legal there. They don't have an age of consent. They do not have an age of consent. You can fuck a 10-year-old in Somalia and go eat lunch an hour later with your cop friend, and it's okay.
So maybe those Somalians that moved here hate the fact that that's what happens in their country and do not want to be a part of that, and they stand more where we do. That could be a possibility.
Instance very recently where a 12-year-old girl in Minnesota was raped by a Somalian, and the local Islamic community center wrote a letter of support to the court saying that he had not adjusted from his Somalian culture, so he didn't understand it was wrong. These people should not be in our fucking country. It's so...
Now, I can agree with that. I don't think that that man should be in this country. I don't think rapists should be here. I agree with that point. But you want to paint all of them based on one person.
Be here unless they can speak English, assimilate, unless they act like real Americans. And anybody with that mindset, anybody who comes from that atmosphere, has little to no chance of ever.
What does a real American act like? Out of curiosity, because real Americans, over documented and undocumented, 10 times more likely to be incarcerated for a weapons charge. It's 2 times more likely for a violent crime, 2 times more likely for property crime, 4 times more likely for drug offenses. What's the American way?
American way is being a true American, being part of the founding stock of this country. Your grandparents or great-grandparents fought in the wars of this country. They helped build this country. You pay taxes to this country. You work in this country. You're a God-fearing person in this country. You try and abide by the majority of law.
Huge amount of immigrants are religious and do pay taxes. I mean, most of Latin America are all Catholic or Christian. So it sounds like they do fit in here.
No, not necessarily. Again, it's not necessarily just about being religious. It's not necessarily just about being Catholic, although I would like more Catholic immigrants if we are going to bring immigrants. It is about actually having American values, having ties to the land that you live in, signed up for the draft, being an actual part of the system and the country itself, trying to improve the country. The people who come here do not have the best interests of America in mind. Only 27% of immigrants, legal and illegal, want to uphold the Constitution and uphold the laws of this country.
Well, I guess that you could include Donald Trump in that category, right? Because he doesn't abide by the Constitution at all. In fact, he's allowing ICE to trample all over it. You want to sit here and talk about the American way?
The government without actually telling me. Plenary power, the unitary executive. The president could take a shit on your lawn, fuck whoever he wants, and he'll be fine by lunchtime. Again, it does not matter. You don't understand plenary power, the unitary executive.
Yeah, Trump can fuck kids too, right? And it's totally fine. James, listen, I understand that you don't like immigrants. You don't like brown people. That's fine. I understand that. You're a racist.
Brown people, as long as they're real Americans and have ties to this country and assimilate well. And also, I'm not a Donald Trump guy. I think it's possible but not likely that Donald Trump fucked a kid. But I do think Donald Trump was very guilty in a lot of Epstein conspiracies. But again, you want to assume everything I believe.
Only assuming based on what it is you're saying. I mean, you were literally directly quoting him a minute ago. So that's why I'm just figuring, oh, this has got to be a Trump guy. Now, as far as
quote him, I said he had plenary power in the unitary executive theory, which is something that every president has, which means they can set the law. That means that the president can do anything they want and it's not illegal because it's the president. And while I don't agree with that, that is a thing that exists in this country that every president has used. Trump has used it, Biden's used it, Obama's used it, Bush has used it, Clinton's used it. Every fucking president uses plenary power in the unitary executive theory to their advantage.
And in Trump's case, it's to build his wealth by $7 billion and fuck kids. I mean, anyway, is violence inevitable with the deportation system? I mean, I'm willing to secede this debate because, I mean, Trump has proven under him, it's inevitable that it's going to happen. It's inevitable that you're going to get ripped out of your car. You're going to have your husband or kid taken from you. Oh, not to mention that when you're in the ICE facilities, you could be raped by an ICE agent because there was an ICE agent. What's his name? Alexander Back, who was raping a woman in exchange for visitations to her daughter. Then another one was arrested. And he said, I'm ICE, boys. Like he was going to get a pass. And he was involved.
Prostitution. prostitution more than rape. I don't know the fine details of the case, but you saying that she was giving something in exchange, sounds like prostitution, not rape. And again,
next you're going to sit there and say, what was she wearing, right? You are disgusting, bro. But here's a list of ICE agents that have all been arrested for crimes. Okay, these, you want to get rid of the worst, here they are. Everything next to it, an asterisk, means it was a sexual crime, and the ones with exclamation points means they were pretending to be an agent. That's how dangerous this is, that now you can just pretend to be. And so, you know what? I'm going to secede this. Is violence inevitable? Deportation system. You know what? It is inevitable, because we're also going to allow people to act however they
won the debate. We won the debate, guys. Let's go. Let's fucking go, people. We just dunked on her. We won this debate. That easy. It was that easy. Again, violence is inevitable because the media is going to stir up shit, because the violent leftists are going to throw themselves in front of these ICE agents, throw themselves in front of cars, throw themselves in front of...
Or it's inevitable because ICE agents are basically acting like animals. Don't make any large movements or they're going to shoot you. They have no training. They are led with hate.
That's how any law enforcement are. Like, again, when you're getting apprehended by the police, if you do one day, if they say don't make any movements, go make a movement. See if that law enforcement agent treats it the same. I promise.
And you know what? I'm glad you're winning this one. Is violence inevitable? I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing, but I don't know if it's a good thing to win, but okay, I'm glad you are. But the reality is that this level of violence is something we haven't seen before in our deportation system, or at least we haven't had discussed or really addressed or been in the media and covered, because we didn't have men going into homes and ripping people out of cars in the middle of the street. They ripped some American citizen out of her car who was...
Every time an American citizen commits a crime and is driving, they get ripped out of their car. And I look at it as no different. I actually look at it as a little bit different, because those people are illegally in the country. I am more glad.
These are American citizens I am talking about. I'm not talking about immigrants being hurt with the violence. I'm talking about American citizens. These are the people that are also being ripped out of their cars, being detained, beaten, raped. Okay, let's be real here. This is...
Why was Renee Nicole Good? Why were they attempting to rip her out of the car? Because she was sitting in the middle of the street blocking ICE agents. She was following the ICE agents that morning, and she was...
You clearly weren't watching the video. She stops her car. A car rushes in front of her. She stops and says, "Go around." Then they get out of their car and violently approach her. She literally said, "Go around." Why didn't they just go around? Why did one say, "Get out of the car," while the other one said, "Don't move"? Like...
God, if I just sat my car in the middle of the street, in the middle of the road, sideways, that a cop would just go around me. He wouldn't attempt to remove me from my vehicle. I completely forgot about that. You're right.
Okay, so then if I block traffic, I deserve a bullet in the head. Now, that's where our laws are at. You block traffic, you get a bullet in the head. This is
If you try and take your car and drive it in the direction that an ICE agent's in, even if that's not your intention, I don't believe she intentionally tried to do it, but she did it because her wife screamed, "Drive, drive, drive," and she instinctively drove right into the ICE agent. He got internal bleeding from it. So yes, I do.
You know what? I am also, I'm going to secede this for sure, because thinking about it, is violence. In our ICE detainment facilities or whatever, I mean, there were 16 men involved in a sex crime ring. So I guess it is on the ICE side. Yeah, it is inevitable because they are going to be violent.
Yeah, you're always going to be able to pick out bad apples in any single group that exists anywhere. But saying that that is what the majority of ICE agents are like is absolutely retarded. And you thinking that more training would weed out bad apples?
Well, then you thinking that the majority of immigrants are criminals is also just as ridiculous then. Like you said, there's bad apples in every group, but there's also really good ones in every group.
Violated U.S. Code 81325. By definition, they are literally all criminals. Every single one of them is a criminal. Yeah, they violated U.S. Code 81325, unlawful entry into the United States by any means, including overstaying your visa, fake refugee claims, which you said before, which they can't prove because they don't actually exist. So again, completely ridiculous.
So then why is it that we're not seeing this flux of immigrants from white countries being ripped out of their homes and taken? Why aren't we seeing that? Why is it all brown people then?
we have immigrants who come into the country, come from South America, come through the border, come through overstaying their visa. We're not taking in a lot of immigrants from white countries. We're taking in a very minimal amount, actually. We are taking in immigrants from places in Africa. We are taking in immigrants from places in the Middle East. We are not taking it, and South America. We're not taking in immigrants from.
My other question is, why do you think then that all the I guess main places that they've been hitting harder than others are all in blue states?
You guys want to openly declare your cities as sanctuary cities and give more benefits to illegal immigrants in those cities and states than red states are. So illegal immigrants will naturally go to the states where they can get the most free shit. Why would they pay rent? Why would they pay bills for medical services? Why would they pay for SNAP or pay for what they'd get with SNAP and Medicaid, pay what they'd get when they can just get an Obama phone if somewhere like LA or somewhere like New York City or Minneapolis is looking to just give it to them for free? That's why. If you openly declare, hey, my city is a sanctuary city for illegal immigrants, they're going to fucking show up. It's 1 + 1 is 2.
First of all, immigrants, they pay taxes. They pay about 80 billion in taxes, and they don't see any of the benefits of that. And I know a lot of people think, oh, they get health care. No, they fucking don't.
I got fact checked on that one because I said that they're a net debt on society, and I got fact checked and proven right. They are a net debt on society. You're right. They do pay a lot in taxes, but at the same time, they take up more money in public services than they actually contribute to the system. And when you look at the fact that they are.
And California pays $70 billion in taxes more than it takes, while Texas takes $70 billion more than it pays. So should I be upset with Texas and the Americans there for being a strain on me?
Be upset with how the government manages their money. Yes, you do. But it's also a population difference as well. California is one of the biggest economies in the entire world, let alone the country.
Then maybe, because the thing is I feel like you still want to blame immigrants, and really it's the system, right? That's fucked. And the reality is, like
you say, we should blame the system that allowed them all to come into this country in the first place, which was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I do blame that system. I don't think we should allow all these illegal immigrants into the country. They allowed about 12 to 20 million under them. We have about 50 to 70 million total in the country, and they all need to be removed immediately.
Is violence inevitable with the deportation system? It is, I guess. Under Trump, it definitely is. And I don't mind seceding this point. Like, that's fine with me. Trump is a tyrant. He's put masked men on the street with guns that are Proud Boys. They are KKK members. There was a journalist who got her job in 6 minutes. They falsified the drug test, never did a background check, gave her the badge. This is just open. Like, anyone can cosplay now. Anyone can cosplay.
You're basically making the argument that only corrupt things happened under Donald Trump. Okay. Like, literally, how fast did Monica Lewinsky get her job? Like, shut the fuck up. That's such a stupid fucking argument. It's so ridiculous. Oh, Trump gave this hot journalist a job. Who gives a shit? Presidents do dumb shit.
Presidents do dumb shit, like pedophilic rape. So should ICE be abolished? As it stands, I think, yes, it does need to be abolished as it's operating now, because the way that they operate tramples over the Constitution, and they have, defiled a lot of the amendments in it. And so I feel like the two can't coexist. The way ICE is managing and operating right now can't coexist with the way our Constitution operates. And so I feel like right now, you have to be kind of wondering, do I want to, I guess, get rid of or possibly lose my freedoms to flex my racism and allow the government to carry out an ethnic cleansing? Or do I want to be an American that upholds the constitutions? And those rights are for the persons on this land. So I just feel like it should be abolished because it goes clearly against the Constitution, and the two can't coexist at the same time right now.
How are they going again? I'm going to pass it back really quick, and then I'll address it further. I want to know, how are they violating the Constitution? What specifically are they violating? I want to hear your answer, and then I'll give you my longer.
Well, the reality is, they're attacking people for their First Amendment right. Okay. They're also the 4th and the 5th. I mean, they literally are going into people's homes. You can't walk in without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. Right there, you're going against
that about the January 6ers in the past? I'm curious. Did you say that about all the ones who didn't get their due process for January 6th or Charlottesville? Because I doubt you did, but you'll do it for immigrants.
January 6th. Listen, if someone was there on January 6th and was violent, they should be held to the lengths of the law the same way if like an immigrant.
Saying that because I think everybody has the right to protest, and they have the right to protest ICE, and they have the right to stand on the sidewalk and scream what they want. But when they act violently, ICE should apprehend them. ICE should throw.
But the reality is protesters are not acting out violently first. That's really not what we're seeing much of here. I was in Minneapolis for 2 weeks.
That the January 6ers weren't acting violent first, the same way you're trying to make the argument that they are not acting violent first. I've seen multiple. Okay, so let me ask you this. The video of Alex Preddy kicking the back of the car. How is someone acting violently towards him? The car's driving away. He's standing there screaming, "Shoot me in the head."
That, like I said, that video is so bizarre to me. And like we talked about AI a second ago, I'm not saying it's a fake video, but the idea that an ICE agent would allow him then to kick his car to be violent, and they would.
Exactly why I think if they wore body cams, it would go better for them, because you would see that 1,000 times over with 1,000 different people. You would see every single day these ICE officers being violently run into. You would see protesters throwing shit at them. You would see protesters trying to dox them. You would see
So then why don't they have body cams? Because I would be fine with that. In fact, I think it would be better for everyone, not just them, but us too, for them to have body cams. Why don't they?
It costs taxpayers money, but they are starting to roll them out, which I support. I do think we should have it. I don't think that the taxpayer excuse was a good excuse. I do think that they should have.
I'm glad you called that one out, because that is a terrible fucking excuse when they just added $75 billion to the ICE budget. And on top of it, Trump is currently suing the IRS for $10 billion of U.S. taxpaying dollars. So yeah.
The IRS, because someone in the IRS leaked his tax thing without his approval. And if it was you or me or any other American, we would have the right to sue the IRS as well. So I actually don't necessarily disagree with that, even though I dislike Trump. And again, that's not my reasoning. That's the reason that they gave out, that it cost taxpayers money. So again, I'm not saying that that's what I want, but that's what they wanted. They didn't want to do it. Now they're doing it. They're rolling them out in Minneapolis, and now they're rolling them out through the rest of the country. And
But now that we're on the topic of money, I feel like adding $75 billion to the ICE funds or whatever, but then taking $186 billion from SNAP in the same breath is completely ridiculous. This is why
people abuse SNAP. Too many people abusing social services, and we do need those social services. We do need to actually have them available to people. But guess what? They need to be available to American citizens, not anchor babies, not people who just walked into the country and want to claim to be Americans. They need to be made available to Americans, and they need to set
They won't be available to Americans, though, if we keep giving all our money to ICE. This is another reason I should be abolished. Just simply fucking money, dude. There's so many other issues in this country occurring that actually affect all Americans.
What you're referencing now is the One Big Beautiful Bill, and you could take the mic if you want, but I urge you not to hear me out on this. But what you're referencing is the One Big Beautiful Bill. And in the One Big Beautiful Bill, they gave $150 billion to ICE, which I could agree is a lot. It makes it about like the 8th largest funded military in the entire world. But what it also does, or what it did, is they didn't get that money till very recently. It's not like when they gave that money when the One Big Beautiful was passed, they immediately got those funds. They get those funds in sets, and they got a set of funding, and they're using part of that to get the body cam rollout going on. And then to address the other part, if you actually read the provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill, what it did is it closed a lot of loopholes in the Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP systems and things along those lines. If people are abusing those services who shouldn't actually be on those services, like if somebody is on SNAP for 20 years and they have 8 kids, but they also barely work and they're just getting alimony. To be honest, that person should not be on SNAP and should actually have to work for something. We should create systems where these people only get these benefits for a short period of time and they're actively being monitored during those times so that we know that they're not abusing these systems. They have to check in like somewhat of a parole officer or some sorts, but with slightly less restrictions than parole because it's not a legal crime.
I can agree with that. People abuse the system. We know this. I don't think it's as high as everybody wants to make it out to seem like it is. I think that ICE being abolished right now would be better for Americans in general. One, it would make our streets safer. They are not making our streets any safer. They're not. Okay. Why? If they want to patrol streets, patrol your own. Why are you coming 5 states up to Minnesota to terrorize people you don't know? And then
last couple weeks alone, just in the last 2 weeks alone, and if I really wanted to, I could expand on to go to the whole last year and change. But in the last 2 weeks alone, they have deported over 6 people who have been engaged in child sex crimes, over 12 people who have been engaged in rape, over 15 people.
Dude, if you fucking bring up child rape or sex crimes again in this argument, it makes no sense. Our fucking president is a goddamn pedophilic rapist who's covering for others. Our entire government is ran by people that are abusing people. And this is your argument against immigrants?
The government everywhere is ran off of abusing people. First of all, that's the entire premise of a government. Second of all, again, while I don't like Trump and I do think Trump's how he's handled the Epstein thing has been absolutely abysmal, completely condemnable, and we should scrutinize it. At the same time, I don't think there's enough evidence to show that Trump actually engaged in sexual conduct with a minor, or at least a child. Maybe a minor, but not a child. There's
Okay, are we doing that? Are you doing that? A minor, not a child? What's a minor to you? Oh, she was 15, so it's okay. What is that? What is that? That's a child still.
Okay, but there's a difference between raping a 8-year-old prepubescent child and a 15 to 17-year-old post-pubescent child. Very different, should be looked at in different ways, but still completely illegal and not okay. I don't think it's okay to have sex with somebody who is underage like that. But if you're going to say it's the exact same as raping an 8-year-old, that's very different. Extremely different, actually.
Don't ever say that in an argument again. That does not go over well, dude. Anyway, but the other reason I think ICE should be abolished, though, also is because there are other issues facing Americans every day that we could be funding instead. Like you said, right? Like social services need to be monitored more, need to make sure they're getting into the right hands of American citizens. I understand all that.
In the hands of American citizens. So to do that, we need an immigration service to deport these people. And ICE doesn't only do deportations. ICE does so much more than that. ICE is also Customs and Border Patrol. ICE does a lot of things throughout the country. ICE assists with TSA. ICE does so many things for the country. If you abolished ICE, not only would terrorism go up, but you would also have violent crime go up. You would have people breaking into this country endlessly. If you abolished ICE, we wouldn't be able to have a southern border. And you even said whether it was the last debate or this one, you said that we should not allow people to just pour through the southern border like it happened in the past. So you're pretty much conceding to my argument in that manner by saying that we can have these things, but then when we're arguing it the opposite way, you're like, oh no, we can have these things. It doesn't make sense.
Well, the reality is, though, it's like, I understand, like I said, a secured border so that we're vetting people who come in. See, I'm not against immigration, but a controlled immigration so we know we don't have criminals coming across the border. A lot of people would agree with that. That's not, I don't think, a super political issue, because the reality is we don't want criminals here, right? But the reality is we do have criminals here because we have American-born criminals all the time that commit crimes at higher rates than immigrants do. So my thing with abolishing ICE is more of the ICE agents that are out on the street with guns shooting American citizens. This is not necessary. This is not necessary. We know this.
Because of a couple bad apples, you want to punish the whole class? That's ridiculous. If I'm sitting in a classroom and I scream, fuck this bitch to my teacher, does she have the right to punish the whole class? Probably not. It would be ridiculous. She could punish me.
So just like villainizing an entire group of immigrants based on a few bad apples, is that what you're talking about? Because that's what you also do.
By villainize the entire group of immigrants. I said they all violated U.S. Code 8 1325. Not every ICE agent has violated a law. It's a completely ridiculous comparison. One group violated federal laws. Every single one of the illegal immigrants in this country violated U.S. Code 8 1325. Not every single ICE agent has shot someone, raped somebody, assaulted somebody, and it's absolutely ridiculous to say that the extremely minuscule amount of bad apples in the bunch, which I don't even think there are a lot of. I think a lot of the things you're saying are overblown, like the person who shot Alex Preddy, Renee Nicole Good. I think that was completely justified in both cases, actually. So I think what you're saying is just ridiculous. And I see the shock on your face, so I'll explain. The reason it was justified is, one, he was carrying a gun, it misfired. In the heat of the moment, you have to look at the tactical.
He did not pull his weapon once. Who misfired that gun? The ICE agent? Because Alex Preddy never had his hand on the gun.
Misfired the gun's a hilarious question, because it's not a person who misfires. A gun just misfires. He was holding his phone in his hand. The ICE agent did take the firearm out. The firearm then did.
Okay. Then after it misfires, why do they lay 5 more fucking bullets into him while he's just laid there? Why did they literally massacre?
You're supposed to fire until the threat is down or completely out. That's the training that all law enforcement officers go through, including police officers and every law enforcement. And again, let me actually explain my point here. With Alex Preddy, the gun misfired. You could probably blame SIG more than you could blame Alex or the ICE agents. I actually blame Alex a little bit because he, on multiple occasions, was putting himself in the middle of ICE agents trying to violently go at them. And it led to this. If Alex Preddy wasn't violently going at ICE agents, he would still be alive today. If Renee Nicole Good was acting like a mother and a wife, instead of sitting in the middle of the street trying to protect Somalians who wouldn't piss on her, she would still have her life. But again, all these people chose to try and live on this pedestal that they put themselves on, that they're better than other people, that because they think they're doing what's right, that they can just get away with it. No, that's not how.
Do you think that ICE agents are violent? Do you think that they've shown that they are capable of a serious level of violence towards Americans? Because you keep acting like, oh, it's the left that's always like starting this shit. But reality is they came 5 states up to someone else's neighborhood to terrorize them. If a bully...
country. They're in my state, they're in your state, they're in everybody's state throughout the entire country that has illegal immigrant problems. They're especially in leftist states. And you're asking, do I think ICE agents are capable of violence? I think almost any man is capable of violence. Absolutely ridiculous. I think Joe Biden was probably capable of violence on some level. I think Donald Trump is capable of violence on some level, even in their 80s. I think any man is capable of violence, and even some women. So I think that's an absolutely ridiculous question. But the real question should be, do I think the majority of ICE agents are violent? No, I think it's actually probably less than 1% of them.
Do you think that the large majority of immigrants are violent criminals? Because again, we're kind of putting this whole blanketed look on immigrants because, oh, they're all criminals because they overstayed a visa or something like that. Like, there are different types.
And I kept going like this to show you, but I don't think they're all violent. But I also think you need to calculate in some of the non-violent crimes, like I said, like burglary, fraud, DUI, child porn, solicitation of a minor, human smuggling.
All the same things that Americans do at a higher rate than undocumented or documented. That's my thing here. It's like we keep trying to put them in this box of like criminality when the reality is American-born citizens are much more likely to commit any of those things over documented.
When they do that, they are arrested. That's the thing. When these ICE agents are doing that and they're apprehending, when they arrest these people, they then deport them because they're not even supposed to be here in the first place.
When they go to arrest these people, these Americans, do they follow the law? Do they show up with a warrant, or do they just break their door down? Do they just rip them out of their car and shoot them? Do they give give them what the laws that apply to the people on the land?
None of the January 6ers got due process, or almost none of them. They were literally all ripped out of their jobs, cars, and homes. Same thing with Charlottesville people. And there's multiple other instances that happen around the country. But no, to say that every American is given their 5th, 13th, and 14th Amendment rights is absolutely, no, that's not the right amendment. 5th, 12th, and 14th, I think it would be. But yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, again, should ICE be abolished? You think no, I think yes, but I think yes simply because they haven't made us safer. It's a lot, honestly, it's a lot of money that's being wasted giving it to ICE for more training. And it's not 6 months, it is 47 days. They do go ahead and they falsify background checks, they falsify drug tests. They're handing this out to anyone who wanted a $50,000 bonus, which I love that they're not even getting unless they complete their 5 years. So they all got a dick in their mouth for $5.70 extra an hour. It's ridiculous, dude. I should 100% be abolished. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of resources. And here's the thing. If you want to focus on like a secure border, then focus on the border. Stop coming in to Minnesota where these people who have been living here for years, paying taxes, adding to the community, haven't started shit, have no criminal records. Because the reality is we're getting rid of people that don't have criminal
that state for $8 billion. But yeah, they're totally adding to the community, all the Somalians. The Quality Leering Center is actually the best place to get educated in Minnesota, guys. If you didn't know, go there. And you want to say that focus on the border. Who do you think works on the border? The ICE agents. Again, you want to take away ICE, you want to completely abolish ICE, we wouldn't be able to have a border at that point. So again, completely ridiculous. We need enforcement within the country. We need enforcement at the border. We need these people to be removed from the country. And if your answer to that is, oh, we had a couple people who were violently protesting get shot, I have no problem with them getting shot.
Well, okay, that's all right, whatever. These are American citizens that you don't care about. Like, you're here pro-America, but you don't care about the fact that ICE agents are massacring American citizens and terrorizing American citizens. That's who's also being hurt through this whole process, is actual American citizens. And I should be about, let me say this, ICE agents, that's my whole thing here, right? I understand that we need to have immigration enforcement at the border. If you're vetting people, we need to get people documented faster so that we know that they're paying taxes, so that we know that they're citizens. I don't think the answer is to pull everyone out. And also, we're not deporting even the ones that are not violent criminals or criminals, period. They're not sending them home, dude. They're not sending them back to where they came from. They're sending them to CCOT. They're sending them to places they've never been. So right there also, that's really fucked up, don't you think? I mean, if you want to get rid of someone who overstayed a visa, you think the answer is to send them to El Salvador where they've never been to a death camp? That is okay?
The death camp's a little bit of a stretch, sweetheart. Let's be honest. Second thing, I would rather actually just put them all in a boat and let them all figure it out. Send them off and let them figure it out from there. I really don't care once they're out of the country. Like, that's their business. Get them out of the country. Do I think the El Salvador prison's a little much? Occasionally, but at the same time, I actually think we should be sending some people there. Some people who are on death row, some people.
Okay, I mean, you and I clearly both agree, like, you know, we don't like criminals. We don't want criminals here. But again, the reality is criminals will always be here because American-born citizens are 2 times more likely to commit a violent crime, 10 times more likely for a weapons charge. This is just reality. But so as far as abolishing ICE goes, I think it should be abolished. One, because of the funds, way too much money going there and not enough money going to things that actually would affect American citizens in the positive. Okay, I understand that we want a secure border, and so you need to have some sort of ICE agency, some sort of immigration, I understand that, at the border to have a controlled effort to make sure people aren't criminals, to get them documented. Stop giving them this year pass, see you in a year. No, get them fucking through the process so that they can't just disappear, maybe. ICE needs to be, if not abolished, at least revamped completely. And we don't need agents in the street patrolling. That's not a thing. This is basically, when I went to Minneapolis, what it looked like to me is just military occupation of a city. Like, they went in there and occupied the city, and they're terrorizing American citizens. The businesses are suffering. The people are suffering. Kids are scared to go to school. People are scared to go to work. They have not done a thing to help the American people. This has not helped Americans in any way. It hasn't helped us at all with crime rates. It hasn't helped us with any kind of budgets. It hasn't done shit for Americans. Like, you keep thinking it's going to make America great again. I know you're not a Trumper, but it's not making America great again. It's making America safer, poorer,